the dynamic duo is back. And we've been talking about this for, I don't know,
months.
A lot.
Well,
we've had a lot of
at least a
conversations.
year.
At least. And did we do one on plants or not?
No, I have not done
I
one.
have. I've done one on plants and giving plants for funeral services and memorial services, and we have talked about this. In fact, we met because of the loss of your second loss of a brother. Your first brother I had no idea about.
Right.
And then we lost the second. And so we're going to talk really briefly about that. You feel like you can talk about that at all? Two
we're
brothers.
Gonna try. We're gonna hang in there, and
She's
I might
lost
have some
two
tears.
brothers. First brother was
Brian on January 17th of 2014.
Then Randy.
Randy on March 6th, 2017. I had to think what year we're in.
I know, right? And both to pancreatic cancer. Very young men, wonderful men. And that's how I met her. I had all these people coming in to place orders for Randy's service. And we were still a very new shop at that time. And you knew Jill Tate, who was working here at the time, and you groom her dogs.
Right.
She does grooming. Canine Clipping Creations. Just a little plug there. And we just, we got to know each other through that process. Then what happened was, and I can't remember, I think it just came up in conversation, the kids go to dance next door.
Yep.
And you were in here and you asked about plants. And is there anything you can do to save a plant? And I said, well, we can try. And you brought in plants.
Yes.
From your...
I brought in a Dieffenbachia. I learned from you.
Yep. So she brought the plant in, and we talked about when things need different containers, when they need to be removed from containers or separated, things like that. And I've had a lot of people since bring me plants. And we talked about when that plant gets to that state that you've been given that plant as a memorial or in sympathy, when these plants die, those family members feel like they've lost a loved one again. And flowers we've talked about too. And people always say, they'll come in and they want to order a plant from me for a funeral. And they'll say, I feel like I'm going to get the most for my dollar. It'll last them the longest. And there's a part of me, and I'm not exaggerating, I feel like a knife goes into me and twists. Because I will say, you might want to think twice about that. And they always think I'm trying to push flowers on them because, well, you're a florist, you don't want to, and that's so not the truth. I am all about doing what's right by you, by anybody who comes into my shop. Plants are a burden to the person who's lost someone. If you know that person might want a certain kind of plant and they've talked to you for years about, I would love a peace lily, then get them a peace lily. But in your home, they take up space. And you have at your workplace where a lot of these plants are, you've since moved to a new home since we first met, and you would like to put some of those there. And you're learning about plant care from me.
Oh, I'm learning lots because I don't grow things.
Right. And so today she brought this to me, and we were talking about this, and this has been transplanted already, and it's been struggling a lot. And so we're going to try and save it. I've got to get in there and find out what might be going on. It might not be able to be saved. We're hoping it will, and we've talked about some options for that. But the thing is, when she has to bring these to me, she feels like, you feel like you're handing me your heart in a way, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, Tammy, please do this for me. And she knows I love her, and she knows I'll do everything I can to save that plant. But the thing is, when this happens, you are looking at this like it's just a plant dying. So what? Throw it away. That is not what happens to the person who received it at all. I have had grown men come to me with plants from a loved one, and it's the last thing they have of dad or mom, and that thing dies, and these grown men are bawling. And they're like, what can I do? Do you have another plant exactly like it? And the plant is dead, and sometimes I can't even tell what the plant was. And folks, I'm not kidding you. You might think you're doing them a favor, or your company might think they're doing people a favor, because this is a gender-neutral kind of gift to give. You're better off giving them a keepsake, and if it's a young person, like what she's been through, you might not even want to do that, folks. Because when young people die, everybody wants to give something to remember by. And you appreciate it.
We do.
Greatly.
We greatly appreciate it.
And it's very touching at the time. But then everything a couple weeks later becomes about what? trying
where to put it, how to
find
keep
a
it,
home
how
for
to
it.
make it last forever.
And no matter how big your garden is or your front porch or whatever, there's only so much room for that stuff. So sometimes you're better off waiting and maybe giving a small token, something that could go in their billfold maybe. Like we have these little tiny charms you can use. Those little tiny things. I had someone just today tell me, this is a comfort cross day. I'm going to pull my comfort cross out today that they can hold, right, in their hand.
I have 2 of those.
Right?
Yes.
And when you do, when you go through stuff like you've been through, you have a lot of those days. So here's the thing. We're not trying to tell you don't get a plant. We're telling you don't get a plant unless you feel it's something they really want. And I mean it, like they've talked to you about that. Well, what if I get them a flowering plant? I'll tell you what, when you've lost someone, do you feel like going out and digging and planting that plant?
No.
No. It's a burden.
You feel like trying to find out how to make it through that day, not digging.
And the
and
plant
planting.
dies in the corner, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then you feel bad about it later.
Yes.
Because you know they spent money on it and you know they meant well, but the plant is dead and it's one more thing dead. And unless you've been through this stuff, you don't believe it. You don't think that that's true. But I wouldn't be making this video if that wasn't true. This is a heartfelt thing that we're talking about. It's not just you, and
No.
it's not just me.
And before this,
Yeah.
I bought plants.
Yeah. Yep. And
I
if it
now
died,
do
so
not buy
what, right?
plants.
No. Because
don't.
and for and you thought, well, they'll just throw it away. But that isn't what happens. We love that person, we associate that plant with that person, and we try desperately to keep it alive. It's all we can do.
Right.
It's not complicated. It is complicated and it's not complicated. So we would like to suggest some other things. First of all, if you've lost a loved one of the best things people can bring to you is paper products, disposable things. Bring paper towels, toilet paper, bottled water is a biggie because you need to keep hydrated.
Yes.
Even like coffee pods, K-cup pods, for when you're staying up late, cocoa for the kids. Think about the kids in the family too. Nobody means to neglect a child during those times of sympathy, but we do it because we're so overwhelmed. We're so overwhelmed, and we don't need one more thing. It could be teddy bears. It could be things that, maybe you're going to go in and you're going to get everybody's clothes ironed for them for the service. Something that will help that family out.
To get through
coupons.
the first few weeks.
Yeah, and we talked about food coupons, right?
Yes.
And coupons to fast food places.
Yep. Or offer to give me a list. I'll go grocery shopping.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll come over and clean your laundry, or help
Let me
you.
come vacuum.
Yes, anything just to one less thing.
If
that
it's
you have to
summer, let
think
me
about
mow
for
the
day.
lawn. Let me wash the car before the funeral. All those things are so important. Things that really do matter, don't they? It's the things that you think, put yourself in their shoes. Literally put yourself in their shoes. Maybe you're going to go polish shoes for them or clean the kids' tennis shoes. Whatever it's going to take for that service. Maybe you're going to get the kids out of the house and take them to the park for a while so the parent can have a meltdown. These things really are invaluable, aren't they?
I took, it was just a small, simple gesture, but my friend lost her dad to the same pancreatic cancer. Her kids were heartbroken. They lost their grandpa, and I took over stuff for root beer floats.
Yep, I remember.
And
you
my
did that.
kids came with, and they just hung out in the yard and had root beer floats. And for 20 minutes, they were smiling and having
they gotta
a good
be
time.
kids.
And and
'Cause they don't know
forgot
where
for
to put
20
that
minutes
grief.
that they were sad. And
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
what they need.
Yeah. Or come and read to the kids. Come bring some books and read to the kids. It's just amazing the little things that it takes. And it really, there is something to be said about getting the kids out of the house. Because, we love our kids, but boy, when you're under the stress of mourning, you snap at your kids and you don't mean to. And then again, one more thing to feel guilty about. So, you can see why there are so many alternatives. And, if you're getting a plant, we have a lot of people, this is what I suggest to people, if you're getting a keepsake, pick out the keepsake you think that person wants, the one that really speaks to you, and then we'll do the balance in flowers. We do so many arrangements, and people don't believe me when I tell them this. We are not about selling you a $100 arrangement. If you want to get a $100 arrangement, I'm not going to complain. I'll make it the most beautiful thing I can. But I will also tell you, you're better off going together as a group to get something like that, so they're not getting $300 arrangements. We were talking earlier too, taking those arrangements to nursing homes or offering them to people who are shut-ins in your church, that's a really good thing. But if they're these huge arrangements and they look really funeral-ish and those go to nursing homes, those people know what that came from. You're not fooling anybody.
Yep.
Little pretty things, that's a beautiful thing, and that cheers people up.
Yep.
But like you were saying, having that plant die or those flowers die, it's one more thing. And I was telling a group of ladies this morning, I was at a talk. I had to give a talk for a presentation today. And I was telling them about when I was working when my dad died. And they moved the flowers, this huge, beautiful arrangement from the funeral that the Columbus Public Schools had sent. Or maybe it was the staff at Emerson, I don't know. But they moved it from the office to the workroom because the secretary was allergic to flowers. I had to go in there. Every time I went in there, it was like having my dad die again. Oh, it was horrid. Mm-hmm. And I asked, could it please be removed? And they said, oh, but it's so beautiful. I said, please. I will throw it away if nothing else. And so finally, I think what happened is my administrator took some of the flowers home. But I couldn't keep looking at it. It just was horrific to go through. I mean, I got to where I was sending other people down to get my mail. So we mean well. And I do have the giant plant that they sent me also. And I keep it alive because it's got some sun at my house. But the thing is, if it dies, I know where it came from and I know how old that plant is because it's been in my living room for over 11 years now. So don't take it lightly. Take it seriously, whatever you get for funerals. We're always here to advise you. We take it seriously. Yep. We love our customers, don't we? You know that we love you. And we've talked your ear off about some sad, terrible things. We're going to try and rescue the plant. I'm going to do my damnedest. Yep. I don't know what else I can offer her other than she knows I love her and I will try and keep this baby alive. We thank you. We advise you come see us anytime you have a need to. We're at Accent Floral in Columbus, Nebraska. Love you.
Bye.